Hello nerds and welcome to Into the Wild, your favourite wildlife and conservation podcast where we look at all things, well, wildlife and conservation.
This is a podcast of curiosity where we know we don't have all the answers.
Oh, that's my co-host Nadia, by the way.
Hi. But it doesn't really matter because we're here to learn and crucially listen to those who are affected by and closest to the issues that we as conservationists tend to pick over from our comfy living rooms.
So strap yourselves in, open up your luggles, grab a brew and join us as we geek out over nature, share our love for wildlife, rarely take ourselves seriously, all whilst learning. Oh, and we sometimes swear. That's lovely, that.
Do you know what? Is it elderflower cordial?
That's elderflower cordial, that.
Do you know what? I thought to myself that Thames water doesn't put out yellow water yet.
That's the best one I've made.
You're shitting me.
I'm not... What do you mean?
Well, is it a bit or are you actually did you go away and make it?
I made it.
Well, it's really weird because I've had post all week and none of it's arrived.
I made it like 2 days ago.
Okay, fine.
And I did actually think about sending you some up, but I'm a bit concerned because like it kind of ferments a bit. And I'm really concerned it might like explode in the bag.
I thought you were going to say it becomes alcoholic and then, you'd be in trouble
Nah,
for sending alcohol.
Not to that extent it doesn't.
I have a really irrational fear of being in trouble for sending things in the post.
Let's not unpack that.
Hello.
Yeah, no, it's a lovely... no, I'm still talking about the elderflower, by the way. This is going to be at least 30 seconds more.
I'm sorry to listeners, I really tried to move us on, but you can see that he dragged us back. I was doing you
So I put about a heaped tablespoon of citric acid in it. And I didn't put any lemons in it. Because I thought there was no need. And
it's not lemon
less
cordial.
bitter this time. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's better now. It's sweeter and more elderflowery. It's beautiful, that, yeah.
Do you know, I got a recipe somewhere for elderflower champagne.
No need. I'll do it for you.
Great.
I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, all good.
Yeah,
yeah, not too bad.
We're a bit subdued this week, aren't we? What's going on?
I'm very tired. I don't know if it's because I'm 35 now and I just get tired over like things like putting the dishwasher on.
And making cordial.
And making cordial.
No, I don't think it is. I just think May has been quite intense this year and I feel like it's the end of summer now. I'm done.
Jesus. Well,
I've got very August vibes.
Well, it's still May, and you know your May phrase. It's not summer because you can't.
I haven't even cast a clout yet. I'm wearing a jumper as we record this.
Clout still very much not. What is it? I don't know. Thrown.
What do you know interesting about that? So would you like to know something about that saying? So don't cast a clout means don't remove a layer of clothing. So don't take your jacket off before May is out. And May is not the month May. May is another name for hawthorn. So the saying goes that you don't need to remove a layer of clothing until the hawthorn is in blossom.
Do you know what's really annoyed me about that? Is that was actually interesting.
I knew it. I've got way more nuggets where that comes from, Dalton.
I know. I like. Fine. That's
you heard
really
the one
interesting.
that says,
don't do more.
Don't, make cordial until the elderflower blooms.
That's what they say. Use that in another context.
I wanted to say something funny, but you know what? It's got August vibes, and I'm just ready to hibernate for the winter. Anyway, let's bring it back to the right season. What nature have you seen this week, Ryan?
What nature have I seen? Okay, so today I can't identify them all, but it was on the bramble starting to flower, which I find bramble a bit of a babe magnet for bees. Do you know what I mean? I could have just said bee magnet.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it just really attracts a lot of bees, especially bumblebees. And today I saw about 4 different species just on one, as I was looking at one bit, just knocking about, which was really nice. One was white-tailed bumblebee. One was a tree flower bee. Is that something? I don't know. But there was I couldn't identify.
Bumblebee.
Tree bumblebee. And yeah, it was just really nice to see the variety of bumblebee just on one little nugget of bramble. And I
It
thought,
is nice
if I
to
really
see.
dived into this, not literally, I mean metaphorically, it would be fascinating to see how many species of bee
Well,
there
then
were.
there's your homework for our next episode. Next episode, listeners, Ryan is going to give us a full breakdown of the bramble-based bees.
Could very easily just make that up.
But that's the opposite of what we're here for.
It literally is. And why did I even say that on the record on the show?
Is it? I'm telling you, it's the weirdest start to the show we've ever done.
It is. We keep doing this. What's been your nature highlight?
Something really exciting happened to me this week.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually extraordinarily exciting. This is great nature news. House martins have started building nests on my house, and since I've lived here, they've never done that.
That is really exciting. That is, I really like that for you. I've got a lot of time for that.
Given that it's been so dry,
Yes.
there's scant wet mud to be found. So
So
I
what?
know.
What was that? What's scant?
Yeah. Means like hardly any.
Oh, I got it in context, but I've just never heard it being said.
Well, welcome to knowing me as a friend, because there's more where that came from, Dalton.
It's the second time you referred to me as Dalton on this
I know.
podcast,
Well, right. Do you know? Anyway, so they've done a bit of mud construction, but tomorrow, for the first time in weeks, it's going to rain. So I feel like they're going to really up their construction because there's going to be lots of wet mud, and I'm very excited to watch this cup emerge.
Are you nervous that you might get woken up early one morning with seeing a house martin just on the driveway backing in a big truck going boop boop of like loads of mud?
Yeah, no, I am nervous about that. No, I'm not. I'm really excited about them, even just like, pooing everywhere, all of the things that come with having, cohabiting with birds.
That's nice. Did you know what? Nearly, I was torn between the bee highlight, or the other highlight is the swifts nest in my roof. I don't have to put a box up. So they just nest in it because these are all old Edwardian and Victorian houses. So they ain't been like. I
tell you what, tell Raj never to fix that roof.
No, I won't. No, I will tell him to don't do that. So it's, I can see them. So from my living room, my living room with big sash windows, I can see them flying up into it. It's really nice.
That's amazing. Are they back yet? Nice. Are they doing that yet?
Yeah, they took their time around here, but they're not in their peak, like on their peak on my street. I don't know. Have you been to my house in summer?
I've been and I've heard swifts, but I don't think I've ever noticed them going in your roof, so maybe not when they've been nesting.
I can't remember who was here. I think Indy was here once and he saw it, or Lucy was or something. But on the street, I can sit on my doorstep on the stoop and just watch about 30 at a time just really fly down the street. It's really nice because there's just so much nesting around here for them.
We love birds, don't we, Ryan? This is a bird watching podcast.
Should we go on to the news? Can I share my story first? Mine one is.
I did listen to our last few episodes, and I do always go first. And so I do. I always go, can I go first? I'll get really excited. So I would love you to go first. Okay,
well, this one we're going to take the piss out of a little bit. This is on, and I don't usually get my news from TimeOut London, but it came up on, I think it was like a sponsored post or something. But it was a headline that caught my attention. I thought it was a good opportunity for you and myself, Nadia, to unpack this kind of stuff because it happens in mainstream media as well. The headline is, are you ready for this?
I can't wait.
The headline is, an urgent snake warning has been issued for parts of the UK. Here's how it affects London.
Oh, brilliant. Why haven't I clicked that?
I did wonder how you hadn't brought this up. So this is in Time Out London, and it starts with saying, if you're afraid of snakes, we're afraid it's not good news. And by the way, it says that there's an urgent warning. There's been zero warning. No warning has happened. There's no body that is made to give a warning about this shit. So this is fundamentally not true. About venomous vipers has been issued across the country, with people being urged to keep their eyes peeled for the reptiles. And then it says, before you get hysterical, Britain has been home to one type of venomous snake for years. And when I say that's putting it lightly, that's putting it very lightly. They've been in, I think since the last ice age, we've had adders in the UK.
But also,
for 10,000 years.
Where they're like, they've stirred up all the panic, and then they're like, don't be panicked. The people reading this didn't know anything about it until you made a big inflammatory panic-ridden headline, and then they have the audacity to go, but don't be panicked.
All right, it's like going up to someone on the street going, ah! And they go, oh, it goes, calm down.
Don't do that, don't jump.
But they said they're on the rise, and it says while adders are poisonous, which are not, they're venomous, which is a thing that me as a white man has to correct someone every time.
Can I just say,
says.
I don't know the difference.
Poison's ingested, venom's injected.
So I'll kill you with poison, not venom. Go, carry on.
Absolutely. You could essentially, I think you could drink venom and it won't do anything to you.
Interesting.
Because it's got to get in the bloodstream.
Yeah, of
so unless you had
course,
a cut in your mouth, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't
Brilliant.
know, but so technically, I think there's only a couple
Look
species of
forward to
poisonous snake.
pulling that nugget out when someone makes a mistake with that.
Yeah, although look it up, there are some like curveballs out there as well.
Nah.
It says their bites are very rarely lethal to humans. Again, let's be clear about what that actually means. The last fatality was in 1975.
Who was that?
I don't know, some kid in Scotland, I think it was, unfortunately.
Okay, I can't make fun of that.
Well, you asked. That's what it said. So, it's just one of these scaremongering things, and like their numbers are on the rise. But this is something that across all media we should be celebrating, especially when it's in our country's capital.
Yeah. So sorry. Are we just? So this article is about adders are on the up.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, is there a new species that someone's introduced, and like ringneck parakeets, and they've just started? No, this is about adders.
It's about.
Oh, this is so annoying. Right?
I know.
Give me the editor's name. What's the editor's name now? Let's name and shame the editor of this.
I want to name and shame the Times at TimeOut London.
Maybe we shouldn't name and shame, but this is a bad editor, writer, editor, and publication.
Okay, well, look, on behalf of Into the Wild, let's contact them.
Well, no, yeah, let's do it. Maybe we should have like somewhere where we can publish all of these stupid headlines that come out every year. Like, house spiders are bigger this year and they're going to eat your nan.
Oh god, that'd be awful. What a way to go.
I saw a spider.
So that was my first bit of news. I know it's not really news, but I thought it'd be fun for us to mock the article. What's your first bit? What you got?
Well, actually, before I go into... maybe because you started off with bees, that I'm going to talk about bees. This was something that I saw in The Guardian, and obviously the headline piqued my interest. The headline is, plants produce more nectar when they hear bees buzzing, scientists find. So researchers suggest buzzing noises could be used as an environmentally friendly way to enhance crop pollination. So I'm going to read the article here.
Is this going where I think it's going?
Well,
if you dare tell me they've created a type of technology to make the buzz noise,
this is just that they've realised. No, this is plants can hear. I'm doing air quotes there.
Yeah.
Bees buzzing and serve up more nectar when they are nearby, scientists have found. The research suggests that plants are a more active partner than previously thought in their symbiotic relationship with pollinators. The behaviour could be a survival strategy that favours giving nectar and sugar to bees over so-called nectar robbers that do not offer plants any reproductive benefits. So there is growing evidence that both insects and plants can sense and produce or transmit vibroacoustic signals. So this is whoever's talking, the person talking is Professor Francesca Barbero, a zoologist at the University of Turin, who led the research, which I think is quite cool. Don't you? It's like, I
know, it's very cool. I think it kind of like, although I didn't know it, it's that kind of bit of information that when I hear it, I immediately go, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, so in the experiment, they played the recordings of buzzing near some snapdragon plants. But by the buzzing of a particular bee, which is a snail shell bee, which are really efficient for snapdragon pollinators, and comparing the plant's response to sounds produced by a non-pollinating wasp and ambient sounds, and they found that the response to the bee noises, they increased their volume of nectar.
Okay, so yeah, that bit's more astonishing. Sorry, I was concentrating on the first bit, just going that they produce more pollen, but the fact that they can like differentiate between buzzers is
it
insane.
Might not be,
No, I've
some
heard
of these things have to be rigorously tested, but
no, I think don't test it. Let's just believe that, and I think that's a lovely thing to just.
Bees are so buzzy, and do you know what's lovely? When you sat in the garden or sat in the park or whatever, and you hear the zzz, and like that, you just see this bee, and it's like making such an extraordinary buzz in and around a flower. Like, it almost is too much.
Do you know when we said like hail is that weather where when it happens you've got to tell people about it. You can't just be in hail. Like no one's ever been in hail and not passed that information on.
Yeah.
The other thing you have to tell people about is when you see an extraordinary large bumblebee,
especially in a foxglove flower going.
You know when it's so big that you go, "Did you see the size of that bumblebee?"
Yeah.
You always have to tell.
Tell you what, maybe that's a litmus test when you're with a pal to know whether they're your people or not. Walk past the big bee, and if they don't mention it, just be like, you know.
Or it's more how they mention it. If they go, "Oh, cool, did you see that big bee?" You're like, "You're one of me." If they go like, "Oh God," you're like, "Get in the canal."
Who does that for bees? God, we're such an echo chamber with our friends. I don't know anyone that would do that.
Hey nerds, sorry to interrupt the show, it's Ryan here. I just wanted to pop on to tell you something quick. We always want Into the Wild to be a free and accessible show, but it does cost to run this thing. So if you ever have any spare pennies or pounds and you want to chuck it towards your favourite nature, wildlife and conservation podcast, then you can do so by going to www.ko-fi.com/intothewildpod. The link is in the write-up of this episode. Anything you're able to give goes straight back into the shows we produce. Anyway, I'll shut up now. Back onto nature news.
So mine's it's not great news, but I do feel like it's an interesting one to unpack a little bit. So this is from a couple of weeks ago, but there has been an update since in another area. But it's kind of something that happens, and it's I don't know if it's on the rise in South Africa, but it's certainly happening or being reported a bit more. So in South Africa's Kruger National Park, there was a mass poisoning attack that left 123 threatened vultures dead, and another 83 recovering with the aid of a veterinary team. So this was early May. A team around the South African national parks, the rangers and staff, found a carcass of an elephant that had been laced with highly toxic pesticides, basically, in a remote part of the park. It's horrible. I mean, a spokesperson said this marks one of the largest vulture poison events in southern Africa, and the most extensive coordinated response effort rescues to date. So there's kind of like a good and a bad here. It's like, well, not good, but like, you know, the bad is that it happened. You know, the remarkable thing is that there was so much action immediate to recover that kind of the 83 that were affected by this. The type of vultures that were there, you've got the endangered white-backed vulture, was one of the most impacted with 112 found dead. Oh, that's horrible, isn't it? Another 20 Cape vultures, another vulnerable species from southern Africa, and one lapped-faced vulture as well. An endangered bird with only about 6,500 adult living individuals around at the moment. So, you know, there's questions to why this kind of happens, especially in a national park. So this can be similar that we see kind of like poaching happening in this country, really. You've got, you know, these birds can affect livestock occasionally, but also it can be used as a deterrent if poachers have poached a larger mammal and they want less vultures around, because otherwise it gives them away. If vultures are circling more and more, someone will know there's a dead animal there, and then people will find the poached.
They've confirmed this is definitely a deliberate attack then.
This is, oh yeah, I mean, a dead elephant laced with toxic poison, yeah, it's been deliberate.
But to vulture, I mean, yeah, of course it's going to be vultures.
In a national park, yeah. So yeah, it's definitely, yeah. But I think the reason why I wanted to unpack it a little bit, because I mean, you and I mean, we've spoken about this on the podcast before. I don't know if you have, or you and I have together, before you joined the lovely show. We spoke about poaching, because I always think it's a
the
weird,
dark days before I was here.
It's very easy to talk about poaching and very quickly vilify poachers,
Well,
and I'm always very
word, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm always very careful of doing it. So I've already seen some
who have lived on land for generations and just eating as they would have done.
Yeah, and it could be a retaliation to something. Maybe the national park, you know, organised. And this is speculation. I'm not making an accusation here, but like, you know, it's not uncommon to see like bodies, like a national park body or something, like piss off the locals.
Oh, for sure. And then I mean, what about Sycamore Gap?
Exactly, right? So you've got this kind of, you know, this does happen. So I think you often see comments on stories like this going like, oh, these heartless people deserve to die and blah blah blah. I'm like, it's horrible. And as I'm reading about these vultures that are dying, like my heart's breaking, and and I'm feeling ache for that. At the same time, I'm like, you know, we don't know why. Like, there's loads of reasons why it could have just been done, like I said, as a kind of like to avoid being caught out about poaching another animal. But I think when we're talking about poaching, you just got to tread carefully, especially in countries that were former colonized as well. I think.
I do wonder. Yeah. I mean, do you know what? You got to look at a situation and go, we've got to a point where there's a human being out there, human body. There's a human being out there somewhere who has got to the point where they have disconnected their soul so dramatically from the natural world in a way, or like the morality of the situation, that they would be willing to take that many lives, you know, there's a pain going on in that person, and that's what we ought to nurture or care. We need to care for that person or the system that's going wrong there. That's where we need to draw our attention to, is how has somebody who lives so intimately and closely with the land been willing to see the death of so many hundreds of animals?
Yeah, absolutely. And there was, I kind of looked for a bit of an update, and I saw this story. I think this is from Zimbabwe. Oh God, please don't quote me on that. I might be wrong. I can't see a location for it, but I'm pretty sure it said .za in the on the website. But so it's definitely a Zimbabwean article. But there was another 100 critically endangered vultures that were found dead. There were no survivors, but no body parts were taken on this one either. So Africa's only vulture-focused conservation organisation, together with Wild and Free Rehab Centre, has confirmed a significant poison incident in the Lions Butte Game Reserve near Marlof Park, Monalanga. More than 100 vultures have died, including 92 whiteback vultures, of which 90% were breeding adults, 9 hooded vultures, and 1 adult male white-headed vulture. Blow. So yeah, they're big numbers as well. They're huge. So it's a really upsetting story. And I feel like what I might do actually is do a bit more reading on this and come back to this on next week as well.
Yeah, maybe this is something we've been talking about doing a deep dive for a while, and maybe we need to do a deep dive on the ground with people here to find out what's going on, because ultimately this is something that Ryan and I talk about all the time. You can do enough habitat creation. You can do breeding programs and translocation of species, but if you can even do ecosystem repair, but if you're not working with communities, it can take one person to wipe out all of that work. And so, it might be something good for us to dig out what is the conflict on the ground here, what's going on, because the same could happen here in the UK, right? If someone decided that they didn't, or they felt, that they weren't being heard, they could wipe out the beaver population, or they could, people can do that, and this happens time and time again. So maybe it's one that we maybe need to do a deep dive in and contact our colleagues abroad.
I really agree. I think we should, because it's a very easy article to write, although emotionally it's very hard to read and write, I'm sure. But to kind of understand the immediate on the ground reaction to it, it's easy. But I think, like you said, there's so much complexity here and to understand, and I just don't like that instant vilification of
you went to be honest. That response of just want them dead, it's just like, do you know what, that energy that you're giving is the same energy that's killed the vultures.
Exactly.
And actually we need to meet pain with kindness. I know Ryan and I laugh and joke a lot, but we very, very powerfully want to put that kindness and love and understanding into the world and the work that we do. So let's look into that for you, and we'll report back.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna something completely different.
Go on.
From vultures. Also, I've got so many vulture stories. If ever we've got time to kill on this podcast.
Okay, we never have time to kill on this podcast.
I know. Okay, so I can do this. So just a really quick one, an important one, as our listeners. Well, if our listeners know anything about me, I work for the Right to Roam campaign, and yesterday was a huge win for something that is very linked to the work that Ryan and I do, which is we have a chronically broken system of human-nature relationships in this country. Our connection to nature is hugely degraded, and we don't necessarily have the systems that are in place to rectify that. And Dartmoor was the last place in the UK, or last place in England, sorry, where you could lawfully wild camp. And the rich landowner Alexander Darwall, hedge fund manager, multimillionaire, bought Dartmoor quite a while back, or a huge chunk of Dartmoor National Park, and has been spending the last 2 years proving that the terminology open air recreation does not include camping. And yesterday, after a huge battle between ourselves as a campaign, the Stars Are For Everyone, which is a local campaign, and Dartmoor National Park Authority, we finally won, and Darwall lost his petty little single-man fight to stop the last place in England where literally tens of thousands of children have done their Duke of Edinburgh or the 10 Tours Challenge. They've slept under the stars, and he just didn't want them there. And one rich man, we have a deeply sickening system of land ownership where a very few people get to dictate how we exist on land, and he lost. So it was a huge win, and it means that more and more young people, adults, we've got our inboxes full of emails from people saying, I was at the end of my tether, I went to Dartmoor because I felt suicidal, I went here and I spent time in nature and I camped and I regained my health and I had healing. Like, our email, we are full of this special place and what it's meant to people. And my heart is full for all of the people that call Dartmoor home and that land somewhere special in their hearts. So I'm
so happy. I'm so happy, and I would love to have been a fly on the wall around Darwall and following him around all day yesterday and just seeing how he reacted, because nothing gives me greater joy than seeing a rich person have a bad day.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
I get so happy. It's my kink. I
wish they'd do it publicly more, really.
Yeah, I feel like every time, like if you're worth more than, if you're a multi-millionaire and you have a bad day, I think we need to know about it.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see it. Ticked out for us.
Okay, well that's nice, good news to end the show with. Nice, good news.
Mixed bag this week.
Mixed bag, isn't it? Up and down. All the links to everything Nadia and I have spoken about is in the write-up of this episode. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Nerds. You know where to find us on social media. If you've got any spare cash and you want to throw it towards your favourite nature and conservation podcast, you can do so at kofi.com/Into the Wild Pod. Anything you give goes right back in to the making of our show. We always want Into the Wild to be free and accessible, but if anyone's listening and you go, you know what, I've got an extra $5, I'll whack it to them. We would love you for that. Whatever platform you're listening on, if you're able to, please give us a review or say hello to us on socials by DMing us, chuck us an email, all the stuff you need in the write-up again. We are probably, this is episode 16. I think at 20 we should do a recap of some stories. What do you think?
Oh, let's revisit and see what's happened since.
See what's happened. So we've got a few more nature news coming up, and then I think week 20 we're going to do a revisit on some stories that we've covered so far this year. So we'll tell you more about that. But until next time, nerds, look after yourself. Go make some elderflower cordial, because that was lovely.
Have some elderflower cordial, but do not cast a clout.
May's not out yet.
Well, actually it is.
Bye.
Bye.